Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ascension 5D Chats. I am here with Dr. Janene, who's a psychic medium, intuitive, and healer. And we are talking all about psychic attacks, what you can do about them, and how you can help others who have them if you're an advanced lightworker. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path.
Hi, great to be here. I'm so glad to be here to help. Yes, from my crystal cave.
Coming to us from your crystal cave.
Yes. a lot of high vibration around here.
It looks like it. Well, Dr. Janene and I have worked together many times at spirit circles in Baton Rouge, which was so fun. I really miss doing that with you. Always a good time. And she is an amazing medium, and I love the stuff that you bring forward. And I love this topic because it's really important. And it's really important to say that this is not just for newbies or people who need to know some of the basics about this, but advanced practitioners who need help with some of the more gnarly attachments and psychic attacks that we've been seeing lately.
I agree. I think there's so much going on that's being heightened. And I think a lot of it could be because of the pandemic, a lot of, what's going on in the world. But you and I have both been talking to individuals who seem to be a lot more under attack than we've ever seen before.
Right. It has been building for years, and it just seems to be getting way worse.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important because for, like you said, the newbie practitioner and the advanced practitioner, you're both going to have to handle this. I think I'm seeing it over the next few years. I really am. I'm just seeing it things are just going to keep coming up and up and up. Things are starting to thin out between, dimensions and spirit world. And so things are going to come through. I really see it heightened.
Yes. And you know what? I just want to say this because I get this question a lot. I have a lot of students who say, I don't really know how to remove them, or how do I get to the level where I can? And I would always say master, teacher, Reiki. That's where I teach people to remove them. And I think it's that level where you can really build up enough protection to do it.
I agree with that. Being a master teacher, the late 90s, my gosh, it's been that long. It's really has protected me, especially the last year. You and I know we've both had clients who have just had a lot of darkness, a lot of attachments, things around them, and also just dealing with ancestors, negativity in past ancestors, and negativity that's just been passed on through generations. And that's all coming up too. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, those attachments can sometimes follow all the way through to the current person. And I think that's something that you and I both have been seeing, is that there's a lot to heal, not just that individual, but generations.
Yes. And I really think it's just, this is where we're at. We're at this level of ascension, and the dark, it's that last chance to hold on. And so they're just going for it.
I agree. They're just like all out, like, I'm getting you. It's really out there and loud.
I remember when I was like, oh, it hardly ever happens to like almost everybody. I mean, like almost everyone has an attachment or at least, psychic implants. I mean, I think it's just something we're like clearing out from people a lot. I know. I mean, maybe it's because they're come for a session. So,
Right.
Maybe that's why I'm seeing it, maybe not everybody, but it just feels like something that we're fending off a lot. So let's talk about what it is for anyone who's watching and saying, what does that really mean? Like, what is an attachment? What is a psychic attack?
We tend to think of attachments as entities, negativity.
Mm-hmm. Some people think demons. It's not always demons.
Not always demons. I'm about to say that. Mm-hmm. There's levels of attachments. There's even like partial attachments.
There's even like something that acts and seems to be an attachment, but is purely caused by negative thoughts.
Correct.
Or by abuse. I've seen that too. Like just
trauma
or gaslighting. Like it just over and over and over. It makes a form. And it needs to be cleared.
A thought form. It's called a thought form. So, if we have these negative, we ruminate, or we have like these stuck thoughts about past abuses, traumas, hurts, negativity that we just cannot let go of, they do create their own thought form.
And they do create the space for an attachment to get you, because that is how they get you. They wait until you have a human moment, because it's totally human. No one's saying don't feel bad thoughts. We just try not to ruminate in it. It happens, accept and try to get past it as best as you can. But that's when they get you. And what do? They come into your auric field. They glob onto you. That's what attachment is. And the psychic attack is they can do other things too. Portals in your house and objects, and what else would you call spirit attack?
Well, physical, a scratch or any type of, and you mentioned coming to the auric field. It's more than that. It's like someone an entity that can come into your corporal world.
Right. It's like it gives you a headache. It's like
headache.
Physical.
It gives you a headache. They talk about their vision. Like they have trouble like seeing, like things don't look normal, or things are kind of blurry or almost surreal. Psychic attack would be more of the hardcore physical stuff that you're feeling. And like I said, things from being scratched, being touched, being pushed, just having this envelope around you of negativity. And like you mentioned, the emotional and physical attachment, symptoms of attachments, they run the gamut from the mental, emotional, fear, anxiety, depression.
Anxiety is a huge one. Usually when people come in, they're just like, I just have so much anxiety and I don't know why. It's almost always an attachment.
I also think it's really important to talk about that if there is an underlying mental health disorder
that can add to it.
It can add to it. They play off each other.
Yeah. And maybe it's because of the stigma of it. Maybe it's a low level worry, that causes that.
Right. But it's also the attachment tends to kind of mess with that mental health.
Yeah. It's like seeking it out.
Right.
And more physical symptoms of an attachment would be headaches, really bad headaches,
crushing headaches. Like I said, the visual changes, muscle. Also, I get a lot of muscle. I hear a lot of people just muscle, like just feeling like they're just so closed in, and just heaviness, the physical sensation of heaviness. Right.
Yeah. The emotional stuff can be, God, I just feel like, suicidal. You could feel like there's just
ideations,
no point anymore. Or you could feel, you could hear yourself say these things, and somewhere you're saying, wow, that's really dramatic, or geez, I haven't said things like that in a long time. And then you realize, hey, I'm talking, that's not me.
Which is, where's this coming from? How do we know the source?
You're observing. Right. And if you can realize you're observing yourself do things that are out of character or out of control, you can say, oh, I may have an attachment. Yeah.
It could be like one place always, like it could be like right here, on the side of the head.
Or do you have a weak spot? I feel like it's always in the same.
The shoulder.
Place. Yeah. The stomach. I see them in the stomach.
Oh gosh, stomach is a huge. Well, because our second brain is in our stomach. Some people might have more problems than others because maybe one reason they might not have truly resolved their issues from this life and are trying to be a healer. You have to really work at yourself first. Right.
It's come to happen for a reason. Why don't your spirit guides protect you? Well, maybe because there's something for you to learn, or there's something you need to know. You haven't resolved this thing. Maybe it's the only way to get you to a healing.
Right. And you brought up a really good point about where are my spirit guides, where are my guardian angels, like where are my ancestors to protect me, where is my protection? It's up to the individual to protect themselves too, to ask for that intermediary, that intervention of protection, but you have to do the work too, to learn how to protect yourself. And that's the piece that I think is missing. What do I do? How do I protect myself? And that's the piece right there.
Well, I think, there's many modalities of protection and shielding. I teach a $4 class on my site called Protection and Shielding with Angel Fire, which is just modalities of light, how to learn how to use light. And then of course there's Reiki attunement, which we both are really loving our own and love to attune others. So I think Reiki is really protective. And I'd like to say, for people who have been Reiki attuned for a long time, for 20 years or more, I find have no problems.
I have no problems. Right.
Have no problems. You never have a problem. And I find that across the board. And they say, why doesn't it happen to me? Well, you've been Reiki attuned for 20 years. And some people are like, but I never use it. Yes, you do.
Oh yeah. All the time. Every time. I mean, every moment of like, right. So I've been like, since what year is this? Oh my gosh.
And some people just don't. Some people just don't.
24 years.
Wow. Some people don't have a problem because they may not have a sort of anxiety or worry habit that brings them low enough to get one. That could be it. You know, for some people, they may have this habit or could be PTSD or trauma, and they have more trauma than other people. And so they might just be going low enough to attract them a lot. Or there could be other reasons too. You know, psychedelics aren't always like enlightenment central. Sometimes they cause holes in the auric field. Sometimes they cause problems, you know.
You brought up a really good point. What part of our auric fields are not able to keep up, or they're punctured, they're withering? I mean, you can get so much from having an aura reading, just understanding like, you know, is it around your throat? Is it around your third eye?
Sure. And as we work with problems for ourselves, which is just the normal living, you're going to, you know, have a chakra that needs balancing. It's almost like that's part of it. You know, if you're working on communication, you're going to have this, you know, you may need a throat chakra clearing, or if you're working on finances, you might need a root chakra clearing. Yeah.
Right. And speaking of protection, going back to that, like that's so much throat chakra and heart chakra and manipura to not like have the anxiety, not, you know, open the heart to a high vibration and find your voice to protect yourself.
What's manipura again? Give me that.
Solar plexus.
Solar plexus. Okay.
Yeah.
Yogi.
Protection can take many forms.
I think it can too. You can do all kinds of physical things like
what do you do
crystals.
For protection? What's your protection?
Okay, I do all kinds of crystals. I do Reiki grids. I grid my home. I grid my car. I call in the angels. You can see, for those watching, many sacred circles, sacred spheres on my YouTube account where I call in the angels. That's how I do it. I connect myself to the fifth dimensional heart of Gaia, to the fifth dimensional new earth, unplugging myself from the 3D matrix. I connect myself to my higher self. Like, I do all these things all the time and meditate, you know, do high vibe stuff. As soon as I feel like I'm not feeling mostly happy, and sure, there's lots and lots of crazy stuff that happens to me. It's not like I'm just like, you know, I'm going to just be happy. But if I feel like I'm just feel depressed or low, then I will check in. Like, is there something that I need to work on? Is there something I need to accept? Because I think acceptance is for getting through shadow work. But, you know, or am I like, do I have an attachment? Like, if I'm just feeling bad, then I need to reach out to someone and get some help. You know, I do all kinds of like angel fire shields. I do Reiki shields. So I do all kinds of Reiki protection. Like, I put up all kinds of things that are just around my house or the car. Here's a good one that I got from Kim Erickson, which is like, I just make an intention. So every time I put on this seatbelt, Archangel Michael protects me in my car. And then I don't have to do it every time. Things like that. I try to do a lot of intentions. Like, I only work with beings of the light. I don't channel or work with any beings that aren't of the highest light. I say all kinds of things like that.
So yeah, it's like you're almost like Fort Knox. You really
well
are.
I have to be, because I
know from the moment I met you, I knew like you're just like
I got like angels standing guard. I mean, I don't fool around.
I do see and work in that dark realm. I obviously have very unique protection needs and shielding needs. And the biggest protection is having been Reiki attuned as a master teacher for all of these years.
I really think that being Reiki attuned is the thing.
There
And
was
that's
no way I
why-
could have handled this. Like, you know,
Yeah,
there's
that's
no way I
why
could have done this. Right.
we Reiki attune our kids. Like, even if they don't really understand it that much and they're really little, you know, we can teach them later. But Reiki attunements for babies and stuff it's just protection.
Right. And it's bringing them into that higher vibration already, you know, so.
Yeah, and enlightenment.
Right. And I think, and I do a lot of meditation about being in a higher vibration, surrounded by beings of light, because to me, there's a balance between the light and the dark. You know, you have to deal with the dark to find the light as well.
Right.
For me,
you can't ignore your problems. Like, that's
correct. The shadow side of things. I just do a lot of boundary setting, grids,
Right.
lots of grids. Oh my God, my grids go way high up and they go way high in the earth and they go outward and outward. A lot of crystal work. You know, I'm in my crystal cave.
It really does look like that.
And just a lot of just positive affirmations with my spirit guides. Oh my gosh, Michael is my workhorse. Michael,
Mine too. Everybody, he's willing.
Right, he is, and actually he fashioned a sword for me. He gave me a sword, and I can see that it's beautiful mother of pearl. So I've received the tools that I need to.
You've been on this journey a long time. Yeah,
a very long time.
Yeah,
that's my life actually. So
and that makes a difference. But if you're a beginner, that doesn't mean that you can't be protected.
Right.
You just
I agree with that.
Work on it. I mean, I think it's part of our path. And in fact, we have a few things that, you know, might be able to help you. One thing that I love, and this is really maybe more for advanced practitioners who have open clairs, but ask questions about your client's attachment or your own, if we're attack. Why is this happening? This was what you brought forth last time we talked, which was so great.
Right. No, it's just ask the question, because that sets up a whole new vibration just by speaking it. You know, the words change so much.
Yeah.
That the vibration and symbolism around just the language, just asking. Yeah.
Obviously, you want to also use your discernment and not get tricked by a lower vibrational entity. So just ask and see what you get, and then use your discernment. I mean, and I've told you this story before, but the scariest attachment that I ever removed from my friend, who was literally possessed, like coming off the table, like talking in a demon voice and things. And the thing said to me, "You must know why I'm here." And I was like, "Oh, well, you better tell me."
I know. Do tell.
Like 1 second.
Wait, popcorn. Make us some popcorn. Why are you here?
But it taught me too that it just had something that it wanted my friend to do, which was to clear the land, that the land needed to be cleared. And it had to tell us that. And as soon as we got the message, I was able to clear it very easily.
That's very powerful. And it's a scary thing to ask, because a lot of people don't want to know the answers, whether it's a feeling or an object. You know, you notice a pattern. Right.
Often it's just that, you know, you go to a Lightworker for a session, but it's not like we can just wave our magic wand. We can clear a lot of things and help, but there's always your own work. And we do work with your higher self. So you are part of it. There's always going to be some homework, like, well, you're going to have to do this. Or sometimes they recommend books. I love that. Like, I got to go with a book for you.
Books are powerful. There's a language around this, whether it's symbolism, physical, non-physical, even like charging your crystals. There's still, there's.
Right. You could need to clear your crystals. If you have a big grid around the house, or place, sometimes they just need to be cleared.
They have to be cleared. They have to be revived and revitalized. And
I Reiki mine. And then this technique that you use a lot for advanced light workers, getting the name.
I do get the name.
Let's talk about that. I don't do that.
Oh, they love telling me their name. It's so weird. They're like, "I'm bad." I'm like, okay.
That's so funny. Once you have their name, can't you clear them faster?
Yes.
They tell you.
Yeah, and it's so weird. They're like, "I'm shablagabla." And I'm like, "All right there. Bye." They're like, "Okay."
So once you get their name, it's easier to clear?
Yes, very, very easy.
So there's another technique. Yeah.
But for the advanced technique, just be aware, if you haven't had the background that I have, the experiences, all the research, the studying I've done, they're not going to tell you the name.
Yeah, it's not that easy to get a name.
No, it's not.
Easy for you, I think, Janene.
It is.
All right, so let's do a few self-checks of things. If someone's getting a lot of attacks or your client's getting a lot of attacks and you have to like try to figure out how to really get them to a place where it's not happening so much.
So I think the important thing about the ego self-check, and I have to do this myself because as you and I were talking, like I captured these pictures of these demons in a client's house in New York, and I was giddy. I'm like, I got you. I see you. And they're like peeking out from behind, like they're peeking out. And I'm like, oh, look at you. I got you. And I felt giddy about it. Like must someone freak out. I'm like, there you are, you little bugger. And so, but then that's my ego. I'm like, I need to watch that.
Well, it's hard. When you're doing important work, you can feel really, like, yes. So yeah, it's a good self-check. Is my ego getting too involved with this importance?
It's a very big self-check because once you bring that into it and forget like the real true intention of it, it is for the highest good of the client. It is for the highest good for vibration and energy. It's like, and we're just like little pieces, tiny little ants in this overall huge like work that we're doing. Yes. And I'm not that important in the grand scheme of things.
There are a lot of light workers who do a lot of great things. And I really don't believe that there's any kind of hierarchy. Not one person's better than the other.
I agree.
But, you can't get caught up in how powerful you are because we are just vessels. We're not powerful at all. We're just holding enough light that we can help bring it to earth. Yeah.
I feel so honored and grateful to share this energy, to be a vessel for this energy. And again, as healers, we want to heal, but that's our ego wanting to heal.
Right.
We want people to say, oh, I feel so much better. And you want that to hear that, but it's also like, you also can't force the healing either. Like,
yeah. Sometimes it can be that there's something else to heal.
Right.
Or there's something, deeper. And, as light workers, sometimes we can feel like, well, I did the session. Like they should be like perfect. Worked on them for 45 minutes, but however, how long did it take to get into this place? Or like what happened? It can't always be fixed in 45 minutes. It should be way, way better. But there's probably a series of healings or regular healings at a certain interval or something that can be helpful. Okay. And we talked a little bit about this, but things can get dramatic. They can get cool. If you're a new light worker and you get all this new information, it could get really interesting. So, watch getting caught in the drama. That could kind of bring ego into it. And again, be the cause of more attachments.
I think that's a really good point because going back to us wanting to help people, once you start working, you're going to it's about setting up boundaries, right? So yeah, it's really interesting about getting caught up in the drama. And it's easy to.
This is a really good question. If the client is continually getting reattached, you clear it, you hit another one, clear it, get another one, clear it, get another one. Is there something that the client would gain from this disruption? Could it be the drama?
Yes.
Could it be
the attention, drama, and also the identity? Like this has become that person's identity.
Or it's a big distraction for them, so they don't have to deal with something.
Correct. I think those are all really good points. So it could be anything from just feeling like this is who I am. I need more, I want the attention. I would rather work on this than actually work on the root of the problem.
And the root of the problem in this case could be really big.
Exactly.
Really big.
Right.
And it usually is. And that's my advice for the light worker. What's the underlying emotion or trauma? What is the trauma that's causing this? What is it? And then usually with my mediumship, I figured this out. I come back. Could it possibly, do you have any of this trauma in your life? And then that's a whole new can of worms. And that could be it. Like Spirit's telling you, you cannot move on until you really address this.
Right. And I do have to say this as a caveat here, just to be careful the realm of diagnostics and, because obviously none of us are licensed. Some of you may be out there, but just to be really careful and respectful of the boundary of someone's telling you something confidential about a past experience.
Yeah, and to be really gentle with the question.
Correct. Very gentle.
If it's
like
possible.
I said, none of us,
yeah.
I'm not a licensed professional counselor. I'm not a therapist or psychologist. So it's just a matter of asking the proper questions and forming them in a way that is not intrusive or blaming.
I actually teach this in my second level of trans-channel mediumship.
That's fantastic.
We work on
that's really good. I like that.
Bringing in clairsentience in a more heightened way that mediums need so that they can deliver a message just well, because that's really a talent and it needs a lot of thought. And also
it does.
We also use light codes because why not?
Right, exactly. Right. No, I'm so glad you do that. I'm so glad you do that because that's unfortunately where some people get like,
they can trigger people.
Right. It can.
You have to be very careful.
Super careful, super gentle.
And give them an out. They may not want to tell you. And so I usually
they have to have the choice. They need to have the choice.
It's very possible that this could be from some sort of trauma. And I don't always see it because Spirit doesn't always show me if they don't want anyone to know.
Correct.
And so usually, I don't see it if they don't want to know. And then I'll say, it looks like it could be one of these things. And if it is, they're just saying it's time to deal with it. They don't have to come back and tell me. And, I record and send distance a lot of my sessions. So they're not always there. They're listening afterwards. So.
Okay. That's good. Okay, good. I like that.
Yeah. I kind of give them an out. Like they don't have to answer that and they don't have to tell me. It's just a message that if you have one of these traumas, it might be time. And a lot of times they do come back and say, yeah, I do.
Right.
I am working on it.
And that's powerful. And that those things go kind of hand in hand. Like people who've had early trauma tend to have a lot of early attachments and a lot of early psychic attacks.
Well, the other thing is that there could be an emotion. So one of the things I do, and if you have a modality that you can do this with, or you're able to do this, is I try to find out, is there an emotion? It could just be any emotion, a trapped emotion that needs to be cleared. And I clear any emotion that's causing everything to come back. Or maybe I'm getting very strongly that they are really seeking attention. So where does that come from? Maybe they just don't feel loved, Or so looking for emotions that could be cleared that could help. Or maybe if their ego is really too involved and they're really into the drama, perhaps they have some sort of wound that makes them feel like they're not important. And so now they feel, I'm a light worker now, I'm important. And then that can get sort of caught up. And so just trying to find those things,
Exactly. And I think you brought up a really good point about where is that transition, where's that blur of, and that's up to the individual as well to really parse that out, to understand what am I bringing into this reading? What part of me is coming in? Am I bringing in my own trauma from childhood into this experience? So it's a really good point.
So one important thing is, have you cleared past lives of black magic? Because this is a big thing that can cause some problems. And it can cause a lot of fear of mediumship, of your own gifts, if you had these past lives of all kinds of black magic problems.
Yes. And I think we bring a lot of our past lives into our present moment, obviously, even though we don't quite remember them. I already talked about, even bringing trauma from ancestors, cross generation. If in a past life and handled certain things, like you said, with black magic, to harm an individual for your own gain, and that's the biggest piece. And so a lot of us don't know that in our consciousness right now. Do you do a class on that?
I do all kinds of things on that.
Because that's important.
I have a group healing for clearing past life magic and past life slavery. They kind of go hand in hand. That is available. It's donation based, any amount, and that clears up a great deal. Sometimes you need more individual help in a session, but I look for that all the time. That is really there. And yeah, I do have a lot in my tag Lightworkers group of like sigils to clear black magic, sigils to clear
got
things
it.
like that.
So, right. Okay, good.
Attunements,
Good.
things like that.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's really important to look for that stuff because, and also that can be a huge block in mediumship because you have this, maybe you don't quite remember, but you have this life where you handled magic badly. Now what feels like magic in this life can feel scary. And then people don't want to open their gifts because they're afraid of what can happen. And they don't realize that it's not quite that at all. It's helping you understand things and see things clearer to open your gifts.
That is a really good point, that what we bring with us into this life can hinder our awakening, can hinder our
Oh yeah. When I clear past lives, there's always, we're just clearing the emotion that you brought into this life. We can't erase past life. Well, sometimes a little bit, but
well, it depends. You can kind of
sometimes they kind of dissolve.
Right. It was like
most of the time it's just, let's not bring this feeling,
Right.
And address fear. We talked about this before. What's the worst thing that could happen? Like, if the worst thing that could happen is always fixable. I mean, just because you get an entity or attachment, a Lightworker can help you. Or, you might have a technique that clears it from you. Maybe. I go to a friend. Yeah.
Fear is going to create more fear because a lot of entities feed on the fear.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can rise above with, the cognitive mind, the rational mind, like I've got this, and it's just about trust your path and trust your gifts, but also know your gifts and understand how you can use them and what they can do. And you're right. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, obviously, this is not like movies where you're going to have like.
I think that's important to say. I think people do think that they could get dragged off to hell with a demon or something, or be completely taken over forever. That's pretty extreme. You'd have to do something really extreme and purposeful to get to that. And even if you did, you could still choose the light. I mean,
I agree.
Nothing irreversible is going to happen.
No.
And honestly, when I teach mediums, I teach them how to do it with protection, how to do it so nothing bad does happen, how to make a space so that they're always protected. And it works,
Yeah. And it will.
As long as they follow my guidelines. And if you slip up, well, then
you get dragged to hell. Oh well, sorry. Whoops. Claw your way back. It makes sense why people are anxious and afraid, and then allow these attachments, these psychic attacks to come on. Right.
And I think that ignoring your mediumship,
correct, is worse.
Is really bad. And
they're going to come at you.
And it is not a good idea. Just learn how to protect yourself. Use your gifts instead of just trying to like, duck and cover. Use your gifts to keep yourself safe and have a happy, joyful life.
Right. And because it can be. It's like, it's a beautiful part. It really is. I mean, I too was very afraid because it's scary. I mean, there's no doubt. And I didn't have someone like you to train with, or I had to go through it myself. And I would ask, mediums or psychic medium questions, and I would get not the best advice. I think it was maybe their protection, like their ego. I had to learn and teach and trust and just go through a lot of trial by fire. So I think that if you can find someone like you to help and guide.
Well, one last topic, which is discernment. Sometimes discernment can be an issue.
Yes.
So it's really good to really think about this for a minute. I don't think discernment is that difficult. I think that you can figure out your good feelings. Does this feel like love, or does it feel like power?
Yes. It's hard to describe
How do you
what
describe
discernment means, because
discernment?
how do you understand what's self and what is something else? And
Yeah.
I like the fact that you bring in the feeling, because discernment can be very much a cognitive journey, but it's also very much an emotional, affective journey too. Are you understanding what is your feeling and what is someone else's feeling? And that's really hard for a lot of, it takes a long time to understand that, because
Yeah. But it's also good to just say, like, this good feeling, like, is this a feeling
right,
of charity or of helping, of oh, I did good, or is it a feeling like, oh, I'm so powerful, what a trip? Those are two different feelings. And I feel like that is a key to saying what might be an attachment trying to pretend that
I
it's
see.
not there or
it.
is really you.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point about, is it a sense of altruism? Is it a sense of highest intention for the person? Is it a sense of selflessness and gratitude?
Right.
Versus, I'm doing this. I've done this.
The I. Exactly. That's very good. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Right.
Because it is hard to describe. You can feel good in a way that's not really good and feels terrible afterwards, or you could feel true love,
Right.
And really, it's always love, right? I mean, one thing we forgot to say, which I think is something we both talk about, is even though this may be a psychic attack or an entity or something terrible in the field, that we still send it off with love.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more powerful than that vibration.
The thing about love is it's so powerful. You're right. It's so powerful that I just see a huge difference. I used to send them off like, hey, F you, flipping them off like, how dare you get in my client, and then
they're like, ooh. And then you're like, no, and I think that's the piece about the little demons I saw in the picture. We're like, oh, you're so cute. I just love you.
Only you would think that.
I mean, they're like little pets. I'm like, come on. Like, I love you. And so one of them, this is going to sound really funny, but I used the word obliterate. I didn't mean it because that sounds violent, but I sent it away with like glitter. It was like,
you're like the fairy godmother of death to bad things.
Like, hi, you're so cute, but
I mean, I sometimes send them with gratitude. Thank you. You've enlightened us with this issue. The client's going to work on it. Thank you for bringing it to us. But let's go now to the portal of transmutation.
Yes. No, that is the highest power. It really is. And glitter and love.
Love and glitter.
Love and glitter. Right.
Definitely.
Oh my God, that'd be a great t-shirt or something.
That'd be a great David Bowie song.
I know, right? If he was still here, well, we'll go find him. I'll go find him and have him write it and bring it back. So
I've tranced David Bowie a few times. He's a great healer.
I love him.
He's great. All right. Well, Dr. Janene, thank you so much for coming. This is fun, of course, as always. Now, if any of you are watching and want to contact Janene for clearing your house or channeling sessions or healing, then this is her email address, jmgviolet@gmail.com. And she's in Baton Rouge if you want to see her in person. She's very talented either way, person or distance.
Thank you. It was so great to be here, and I loved it, and I miss you.
I miss you too.
Bye.
Well, thank you everyone for coming. If you have anything to say about anything we said, you have some comments or what you believe, or if you think we're totally wrong or you think we're right, which we love to, put in the comments, and we can't wait to read them. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye.